Well, after the fiasco that was the Note 7, a phone that literally was blowing up, Samsung had to make big leeways with their flagship phone, the Galaxy. And today we're looking at the newest Galaxy, the Samsung Galaxy S8 smartphone. And I have to say, Sherry, I am very, very impressed by this phone.
I think they've really done a good job this time and have pulled all eyes off of the Note 7 fiasco because it's really pretty, first off. And also you have this giant screen. This one we have is the S8 Plus, and it's actually 6.2 inches. That's like the biggest phone that I know.
It is, and the S8, the standard S8 is 5.8 inches. The only difference really is the battery life, but specs, everything under the hood is virtually identical. So when you look at this review, it can apply to the S8. Now, Sherry mentioned something about the display. What's really amazing about this phone is what's called an infinity display. It's virtually bezel-free. The entire screen covers off the sides, so there really is no waste in terms of the bezel around. And another interesting feature of what they did is they got rid of the physical home button. It now exists underneath the screen. So that enabled them to create this phone that is virtually all screen without making it physically look bigger compared to the other Galaxy phones. So the button is just underneath where it would normally be, but it is underneath that screen.
That's why even though it's 6.2 inches, it doesn't look 6.2 inches, and it certainly doesn't feel like, because I can still navigate with one finger. And I love the fact that, they didn't cut the corners with this S8 compared to S8 Plus. So if you want a smaller phone, you can go for the smaller phone. And the specs underneath, just amazing. It's sporting a Snapdragon 835 chip. It's 64 gigabytes internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM. And the main camera, Samsung cameras, they have such fantastic photos. It's 12 megapixels, but it shoots 2K video, and also the selfie camera is 8 megapixels. And Andy, you've been playing around with the camera?
Yeah, I've been playing with this camera, and I was so impressed at the type of shots. You almost think it's a DSLR, but it is probably one of the best cameras, if not the best camera, on a smartphone today. Another interesting thing that I didn't like, even though I love this phone, is the fingerprint scanner. They decided to put it on the back, but they put it really close to the camera. So a lot of times, and it's not even that big, so what happens is a lot of times your finger goes on top of the camera lens, and then it gives you a warning that you need to clean that. So that was probably not the best thing to do, but they give you a variety of different ways to unlock. You can unlock it now with your face, and they also have an iris scanner, so it can actually scan your eyes just like it would do with your fingerprints to identify you. But I found through my own personal test, it's a hit and miss. So unlocking this phone, if you're going to do it all the time, it's a little tricky. Even though you have multiple ways to do it, it doesn't always work. And that fingerprint scanner, most even like budget phones have fingerprint scanners, but this one, because it's on the back close to the lens, I think a lot of people aren't going to like that.
Yeah, and they're not really playing around because with Samsung Pay, if you're able to unlock with your iris, then that's like extra level of security. So if you're trying to go to the grocery store and you have a whole bunch of stuff in your hands and you're trying to unlock your phone to pay and it doesn't unlock because the iris scanner isn't reliable enough, it's a bit of a problem.
But in terms of the overall design, I'm very, very impressed because it's taller. It has this taller look, but it's not very wide. So even though it is a 6.2 screen, you can still quite navigate it with one hand. They do still have the ability to do one-handed mode on here where everything is kind of condensed. You can do split screen, and the accessibility features on here are probably on par with what you would see on the iPhone. So if you are of low vision or maybe visually impaired, you're going to love this because you can do a lot. And they also have this new dedicated button for their personal assistant called Bixby on the side. At launch, the features aren't quite there yet, but what they're really trying to do is compete with Siri, compete with Cortana, compete with the Amazon Echo Alexa by giving you a digital assistant on here. That feature really hasn't taken off yet, but they do have a physical dedicated button for this new feature called Bixby, a personal assistant for the Galaxy S8.
They've got a long way to go and a lot of different ones to live up to. And I just love the fact that, you know, overall this is a great phone because you have a great camera that you can take amazing photos with. Under the hood, it's amazing, and the battery's gonna last you all day. Overall, it's just a great phone that, you know, it's worth spending the money on.
I'll go on record, Sherry, to saying this is probably at launch the best Android phone on the market today. There's lots of innovation in the design, in the display. A 3,500 milliamp hour battery is gonna give you all-day battery life. Watching movies on here is fantastic because they're supporting this new HDR feature. It's just an amazing phone, a lot of innovation. Sometimes you don't really see that on the Android category, but the Samsung S8 has really brought the sexy back for Samsung after that Note 7 fiasco. You gotta check it out. It's from Samsung, and this here is the Galaxy S8 Plus smartphone.